it's a spectrum of black expression, especially black male expression. But sometimes we give more attention to the polar opposite. It's so much room in between those two opposites.
When we're talking about black people, we always have to add the social context of what's being projected onto us, right? Yeah. And so it's this back and forth battle of black men versus black women. Oh, you don't want me, I don't want you.
Like, how do we embrace brothers and sisters who date, outside of the race? And how do we accept their partners? Like, are they invited to the cookout? You know what I mean?
My thing is, again, like going back to the beginning, I don't care who you choose to love. My challenge is if you're black and you make fun of black culture and black community and then date outside the race, I don't feel like you have a place to be trying to be up for the people and standing for the people. So I feel like that was what but I feel like,
because you talk about censorship.
How come
you can't talk about a person who is in this lived experience, because that's a part of his lived experience, right?
It is, but when we talk about, because let's be consistent there though, when we talk about responsibility of the platform that you have and the messages that you're sending, I feel like that sends a clear message to the black woman, the one who's invisible. And so for me, I'm gonna make sure that I speak up on the fact that you can do what you want, but let's have the conversation about what this looks like to everybody else and the messages that you're sending. I don't care who he chooses to love. He can love who he wants to love. That's not my place to say who you date and who you don't date. But I think there's an underlying conversation that we need to be having about the things that he does in his work and then the life that he lives, because to me they're misaligned.
And it's a choice. I like the way that you said who you choose to love, because I often hear this misnomer of you can't help who you love, but it's about the environments you put yourself in. It's about who you choose to spend your time with. You making a choice. You making a conscious choice. So I do think I just wanted to jump off of that.
I mean, what happened with the other brother that got up on stage? I think maybe in the BET Awards. He was on the hospital show.
Jesse Williams.
Jesse Williams.
I think he,
now
he identifies as black.
So
but now he's dating. He got up there and gave that, profound message, and then all of a sudden
he half white though too.
He said this before too. Like he's a part of this 1% group where even in that 1%, it's a smaller percentage of black people in that pool. So I mean, at some point we gotta account for environment. Like you said, you grew up in an environment where it was all black. So the chances of you having a black girlfriend were high. But if you're in these spaces where it's not a lot of black people, and you just so happen to be in the environment of just white women, your chances of having a white girlfriend is going to increase.
Case in point, my cousin, he grew up in Elizabethtown, Kentucky. And there's more white folks there and white girls than black girls. And he ended up marrying a white girl, But for my brother now, who grew up in the city of Louisville, Kentucky, we had more at our disposal. I won't say disposal, but
Freudian
we have a
That's important.
Because we had a greater number of black girls to choose from.
In the South and in the country, it was dangerous to talk to a white girl. It's almost forbidden, not in a matter of just love and loving who you want, but a matter of safety. Like we see plenty examples in history where black men have been riding around with white women, or even like Emmett Till, the Emmett Till thing, Jack Johnson, the boxer. Even if you look at it's a movie. I can't remember the name of the movie, but it's a movie where a law was made to allow interracial marriage.
That's the
Loving.
That's the name, but it was a white dude,
and a black
woman.
That's white privilege to be able.
I mean,
that's what I'm saying.
It's dangerous in some black households now to come home with a person of a different race.
You said now,
but that's in context of where that came from.
Right,
it was out of survival
to some people, but I think some like my mother is like, you better not bring nobody home but a black woman, right? And so like you and when I was growing up, I could never understand why she was saying that. But then she would also say stuff like, because the first time she get mad at you, she gonna call you a nigger, right? And so it was like there was this messaging that I was receiving, like I gotta be afraid of that type of relationship because this is what my mom is telling me. So it's a whole bunch of different messages that we receive. Now that I'm an adult and I can make my own decisions, I still believe in the power of black love, and I want to date inside my race. But I also feel like I have the decision to make. I have the power to make the decision of who I date. I feel like we're having two different conversations here. One conversation is do we have the choice to choose who we want or not, and then like do we have exposure to who we want to date? Those are two different things versus what we're talking about when we talk about Childish Gambino. To me, and I think he's in a different place than all the other people that have married outside of their race because he has been a person who has made fun of the race, who has made fun of black women, and so when you brought up Jesse Williams, I don't hear about Jesse Williams, and I'm sure all of us make fun of people in our culture, right? So I'm not talking in extremes either, but I don't hear Jesse Williams using his platform to make fun of black women and then trying to stand up and speak for black people and then go marry a white woman. That's not what I hear him doing. I hear him standing up for the culture and doing work for the culture, and then who he chooses to love, he chooses to love, right? So I feel like those are two different things for me, but I guess that's not what I'm hearing from y'all.
I wanted to add to that, just because you did bring in the mother piece, right? And so for me, I have a son. He's 6, going through 1st grade, so now he's in a place where, he can actually see that girls like him. So like kindergarten, they was all on him. He cute. He got a little dimple. He cute. So I be having to be ready. But it's a little girl that likes him at school, and she's white. And so he now, notices it, and he's like, oh yeah, she likes me, she hugs me all the time, and he's like shy about it, And so for me as a mother, my goal for my son is for him to marry an African woman. That is my goal for my son, but it's his life. And so I know that it's my job just to help guide him. That is my job as a parent, is not to push and impose on him what I want for him. 1 second. So what I do with that conversation is say, son, Elsa's nice, and she likes you. Elsa has uncles, she has aunts, she has a mom, she got a dad, she got a cousin, she got sisters, and there's people out there that don't like you just because what you look like and don't know you. And so you got to be careful. That's just my message in the sense of people don't just come as individuals. They come with families.
That's good. You're married. It's good.
I think beyond that too, we're also talking about kind of fetishism. Like, did I say that right? On the opposite end, some people are gonna like you just because you black, in the myth of the Mandingo or the myth of the Sarah Bartmans and the big booties and all of that stuff. Because and it's kind of like, how do you know what's real at some point? And so it's not, for me, like I said, I'm not having a conversation like, oh, don't date who you want to date, because that's limiting. Like, you're going to like some people. I was told I was going to date a white girl when I was young. Like, my parents, I guess I talked different and acted different. And so, like, oh, you so white. You a white boy. You going to date a white girl. Like, I didn't know what that meant, but like it puts thoughts in your heads, right? So when you're talking about, and I love the way that you expressed the way that you had that conversation with them, is that it's not like, oh, you're gonna be with this, that, and the other, but like people come packaged, and that package is wrapped in a lot of shit sometimes, and that's just the reality of it, and it may not be their own. So having to navigate this course and be our professional, our best selves, is sometimes difficult when that is in conjunction with being in relationship with someone who doesn't understand your full lived experience.
Right.
No, most definitely. And what I wanted to say, Tyne, is like you said, your goal, or objective, for your son to marry an African American woman, it's kind of like, can you kind of speak a little bit more as to why you feel so deeply about that? Because you gave an example about, she comes with uncle, aunt, and those other things. But I recently got married, and that was some of the advice that I was given. But my wife is black. She's African American. But they would say, hey, you're marrying into a family as well. So you have to be mindful of that. So kind of speak to why you feel it's so important for your son to marry a black woman.
So like, just in the frame of what you're saying, like you're marrying a black woman, right? But we have so many dimensions to our identities, color, class, gender, run the gambit, ability, disability. And so it may be for other reasons that your family or someone is giving you that advice, right? And so for me, it's just about on a spiritual level, right? for me, my core belief, the foundation of my core belief is that I am everything I am is because God wanted me to experience something in this package that I'm in. I'm more than this package, yes, but it matters because God made me this way and he made us all different. So if somebody cannot accept one part of you, if their family can't accept one part of you, that's a rejection of you as a whole to me. So that's the part where I'm like, and I understand very well where blackness fits within the society. And so that's why I'm I guess, emphasizing that particular aspect of his identity, you know, and just worrying about his safety.
So would you say a black woman is more equipped to be a helpmate to a black man versus a white woman be less?
I mean, yeah, do I gotta answer that question?
Well,
I mean, it doesn't mean that all black women fit.
Yeah,
it doesn't mean that, but it's also again about that mentality, right? Is she black? Does she got the right mentality? Can she support you emotionally? Can she, you know, it's levels. So like even for me in my relationship that I'm in now, I remember I laugh, you know, thinking about now we're sitting here, but talking like a couple of years ago, I was saying something to you, and you was like, "Who you dating?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "Mind your business." I got real defensive because I wasn't dating black.
She was out of the line.
I was with somebody black, but they weren't up to the level of what I wanted them to be.
It was in that spectrum.
They weren't achieving. They didn't have the ambition that I had, you know, which is other aspects of identity, right?
Absolutely.
So, but now being in a relationship with somebody who is that, for somebody who is that and has the aspects of some of the things that I projected onto black men that I said they can't do. They can't support me emotionally. They can't listen to me and want to hear what I have to say or my feelings and things like that. They can't be affectionate. They can be affectionate and be, you know, do PDA and stuff like that. And I'm with somebody who, you know, we're from totally different backgrounds. He's Jamaican, you know, and so that creates some differences when it comes to our origin, how we grew up, and even communication, how we understand each other sometimes. But those core things that I need in a relationship, all the things I just named and said that a black man can't do, I found a person that can.
I think you spoke to two important points, right? It's this fact that you further develop this checklist that we have, right? And it's like your checklist now based off your experiences and doing the self-work and understanding what moves you and what you need in a man. Now you are able to kind of have this litmus test for all the men that you interact with and know who's for you and who's not. But the other part that I think you touched on is that the danger in generalizations and how we also we operate in these polar opposites, and we think that because 2 or 3 black men that you had were this way, that you're never going to find a black man that's different. Right. And so I think that's the most important part that we're talking about, and that's the point that I'm making. And I hate to keep hitting this horse, but I got to because people got to understand it.
Beat the damn
that's
horse.
what I'm talking about for Childish Gambino. It's not that. It's not that.
This is America.
No. Honestly, because okay, that's not. But here's the thing. All jokes aside, we're not making jokes about mental health or anything, but just the terminology that we use as mental health professionals is much different. But I was saying that to say that the way that he talks about black women, to have a white woman, it makes it seem like he's settled because he had some of those bad experiences and he thought that he would never find a black woman that could give him what he needed. And so I think that that's the message that we need to be getting out to the people is like, you do get to choose, but choose because you did that self-work and you developed the list that you want. If you decide that you can find what you need outside of your race, do that if that makes you happy. But make sure that you're choosing for the reasons that are appropriate for you and not because you're settling or because you generalize everybody in the race as being incapable, inadequate, or one way.
Yeah, and you're not doing that. I think to add to that, because the reason you keep bringing up Childish Gambino is this idea that he's not doing that internal self-work about what his blackness might represent. Right. You know what I mean? Right. And trying to, like Dr. Francis Cress Welsing would say, he's trying to erase his DNA because of what he doesn't like about himself.
A white man.
Right.
Say?
You know, she was married to a white man.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did the word.
I just want to throw that out.
Okay.
Listen, that changes
But she broke down the codes of social interaction.
Work was great, but does that change?
That immediately took
Not
away
necessarily.
a little bit from
Umar, I mean, Umar's controversial.
He probably throw the
But people throw that out there.
Don't even put his name
on your work. Like,
Right.
can you
It's the
respect
damn one
someone who
Umar
had-
being
but you have
mentioned
a
on
point.
this
I
show.
love Dr. Umar. So
I mean, but he's problematic in some
Why not?
ways, but he definitely has good points.
No,
You had a point.
I just want to say, J. Cole said something very important.
You know what it said?
Choose wisely.
Oh, there it is.
That was a dramatic pause.
Wait, did you forget?
Oh, he did the
We
album.
were trying to fill it. Phil was trying to fill it.
That was a dramatic
But you know
pause.
what's
That was
something
good.
we rarely don't talk about? Like Russell Wilson. You know, when he first came in the league, he was
Okay, that white girl.
a nice, respectable guy, right? He is now, quote unquote, the ideal guy, right? People forget when he first came into the league, he was married to a white woman. Now,
Happily married.
happily.
Well, they got divorced.
Then they got divorced.
He came. He
And now
said he
he's
recognized.
with
Absolutely.
woke up.
And we look at the past of Russell Wilson, Sierra, and the type of people that they dated before.
Let me add that. Let me add on that one.
I'm bringing it up because
Yeah.
I wanted you to. I
Yeah.
wanted you to
Yeah.
kind of give some presperspective to this.
Absolutely.
Look at the people that they dated before and who they are now. And you spoke to just because you don't have someone within your race now, presently, or in that moment, doesn't mean you're never gonna find them. So can you speak to the journey of both of them and how black women may feel about him now?
I can't speak to him. I'm gonna speak to my experience because I don't know them. You know what I'm saying? But
Or the
it's
illusion
journey.
of it.
The journey, right? It's journey and where you are. And even with Childish Gambino, we don't know what his journey has been. We see the art.
We know what
we see the art,
Right.
but we don't know what
I
his
agree.
journey is. Or even if he's not at that place right now in his journey,
He could be,
later.
I agree.
So, you know, even with my boyfriend, you know, in the past, like he's dated non-black women. And I think he says half and half. I'd be like, I'd be like, you sure? Like, and honestly, I felt really insecure. Like, that must mean you don't like me. That must mean that I don't have the aesthetics that you want. Right. And that's because, too, I got my own stuff. I still have this long hair dream sometimes that is long and straight. And that's just not how my hair grows out my head. So we got to recognize what our insecurities are and what we're projecting onto other people. But then, too, a lot of ways it's about, is that person able to be with you and understand what you're going through, what your journey has been, as well as you understanding theirs. And so that's a place where I'm willing to teach him and he's willing to learn.
I think also psychodynamically, right, speaking, we talk about the Oedipus and Electra complex, right? And y'all can look up on that. I don't got time to explain it. But in the journey of relationship, we talk about, you know, a boy chases his mom and eventually wants to marry his mom. And a mom wants to see the woman that a boy chooses reflected in that because that it validates the experience. I did something right, that my son loved me enough, that he brought someone home to look like me. And then I don't know. I keep going to this African accent, and this the only one I got.
Wakanda,
Forgive
you
me.
still in Wakanda,
Yeah,
bro.
I'm still in Wakanda.
It's all right.
Hate this American.
And I think the same. Shut up.
Smoke.
But I think the converse is the same as well as in terms of like a black woman or a black dad with a daughter, and you know. He's supposed to be the protector. He's supposed to be her first boyfriend. And he's supposed to model the way in which a man should treat her. And so when she grows up and she gets a man that looks nothing like him, who acts nothing like him, who's complete opposite, what does that say to that relationship? To some extent, right? There are variables. It's not, one thing isn't concrete, but like, this is like some of the things that we're talking about, right? And so like, how do you relate to that? How do you hear that?
I